In Konoha the opening game plays as Jikuni Yuanichi Chapter 501-525. Chapter 501 Of course, Mamayu is now unconscious, and the two people looked at Wukong and said slowly. But with only 7,500 combat power, you dare to shout here. I think you really don't know what the sky is high and the earth is thick, right? Of course, if you kowtow in front of the two of us now, we can let you go. If you don't know what's good for you, then I will find a way to punish you. Goku certainly won't just sit there and say slowly, you little bastards, shout here. I am the most powerful Saiyan in the universe, and do you recognize me as Vegeta? If you know me, then apologize to me, otherwise, the end of you two is actually here. The two people said angrily, who do you think you are? You dare to command me. I think you are really tired of living. Then let's do this. I can't stand you anymore. Go to hell. Then they started fighting. At this time, Sun Wukong exploded with a combat power of 10,000. At this time, one of them screamed, how could he have a combat power of 10,000? This is simply impossible. You only know it now, but it's too late, Kamehameha wave. Then the two monsters disappeared. It seems that the two people are too weak, and they were killed by me directly. But it doesn't matter, because this person has been saved by me. Then he flew to Mamayu and said slowly, who are you, why are you being chased by Frieza's people? Mamayu looked at Wukong and was very surprised, and then said, I think you seem to be a member of Frieza's army, so run away quickly. This planet is not as simple as you think. The three capable generals sent by Frieza's army this time are not something we can stop at all. I know you are very powerful, but don't go. Before he finished speaking, he began to vomit blood. And Goku said slowly, I am from a planet, I came here to train, we were invaded by Frieza's army. In fact, this was also told to Goku by Kusuo Hatake. Kusuo Hatake told Goku many things, including this. Although some things are beyond his control, his brother and Vegeta are all Frieza's men. Although they are also bad guys, they are still much worse than Frieza. Therefore, it is clear what the Frieza army is doing now. Well, if that's the case, I won't say much. I am the prince of this planet, my name is Mamayu. Frieza's army invaded here, I already feel I know that one of their leaders has disappeared, so I guess you guys dealt with it. You can actually sense chi. Yes, I was lucky enough to go to Namek and learn this thing. Goku was shocked that Mamayu had been to Namek. Then he said slowly, so what's wrong with you now? Chapter 502. I see that your face is not very good, what happened? You don't need to know this, you just need to know that I am running out of time, and I have no way to remove my toxins. Also, since you are a kind person, I will give you this thing, but you can make you stronger. This is the ball treasure of our Luoluo planet, but it is the fruit of developing human potential. But because of the environment, this thing is now extinct. If it is not extinct, then relying on them. It is impossible for us to be our opponents. Wukong understood a little bit and said, I probably know something. Can this thing really make people stronger? Before I die, I want to know your name. If you are willing, help me defeat Bulala and Labubu. I have already felt the power in your body. If you eat this ball, you will definitely be able to defeat that Bulala Tilda and Labubu. They are very powerful people. One of them has a combat power of 18,000. And the other one has 24,000. But that's not all. They have many elites with more than 10,000 people under their command, because our country is also very powerful. But we don't have as many people as them, so we are at a disadvantage. Wukong must know that the people of this country are not too bad, and even this prince has a combat power of 15,000. This may still be the kind of people who are not very powerful in this country. Because Wukong has mastered the chi of many people early on, and some of these chi are very powerful. And if you feel it, it is the chi of Momo Yu in front of him. It is clear at a glance that this person is from this planet. Wukong said slowly, I know, I will definitely avenge you. Mamayu finally couldn't bear it and died. Wukong found a place to bury this person. This planet has been destroyed, there are basically few people left. And because they have detectors, these few people may be able to immediately eliminate all the people on this planet. 0 Please give flowers. But this time it is not without gain. I am already very powerful. And I know that I have no potential. If I give this thing to Hitaki Kusuo, it will definitely work. Because he has already seen that Hitaki Kusuo is a person who doesn't like to practice, but he knows many ways to become stronger. This thing will definitely make Hitaki Kusuo like it. 0 Hitaki Kusuo and Piccolo have been here for half a day. They know that Goku went to save people, but why didn't he come back for half a day? I have been waiting for a long time. But it shouldn't be like this. That person, Hitaki Kusuo, had already evaluated it long ago, and his combat power was at most 5,000. No matter how low Goku's power is, it must be higher than this. Why didn't he come back for so long? But on second thought, it's not normal for Goku to have never seen the world. Maybe he has saved people, and people want to entertain Sun Wukong, so this is actually normal. Okay, Piccolo, we will wait for Goku to come back and unlock Gohan's power. For this operation, Chapter 503. Hitaki Kusuo didn't know what Goku was doing, but he knew that he couldn't go on like this. It had been a month, and his combat power was only more than 20,000, and he could also use other methods to bless it. But it was only 300,000. With such strength, he couldn't even beat Frieza's first state. And the most important thing was that he had nothing to protect, although Jujuling was a Saiyan now. But he didn't think he was that aggressive. Then he looked at Piccolo and said slowly, "Your strength has reached a peak, and as far as I know, if you don't transform into Namek, then you will definitely not be able to catch up with Goku, because the peak of Namek is about 100,000. And this means that your ability cannot be improved after 100,000. In fact, I also know that you don't want to be like that, but you and the god are originally the same person. And you are the geniuses of Namek, which means that if you merge, your strength can be directly increased by more than 10 times. That is 1 million, but in this case, your strength will enter a bottleneck period. I don't recommend you to take this path." Picnic nodded. He also knew that Hitaki Kusuo would not harm him. Then he smiled and said, "Goku is back, but I don't know what kind of news he brought back. I'm really looking forward to it." Hitaki Kusuo already knew that Piccolo didn't want to discuss this topic at all. If that's the case, then he didn't have to make himself look bad. Then he said slowly, "Okay, since Goku is back, let's find a good place next." Gohan. "I'm here, Uncle Hitaki Kusuo. I'm going to develop your potential. Wait for your father to come back, then we can start, hehe." Gohan was looking forward to it. In fact, he knew that he was his father's child. Dad was the most powerful warrior on Earth, so as his son, he must not lose his face. 0. Since Uncle Hitaki Kusuo said that he could become very powerful, then he must give it a try. "Goku, you are finally back, so we can set off." Goku scratched his head and said, "Where are we going now? I want to talk about something. I know some interesting things." Hitaki Kusuo raised his eyebrows and said, "If that's the case, it's not too late for us to leave after waiting for Goku to finish. I always listen to my father. I don't have any problems." Goku said slowly, "Just now, I saved a person, but this person can't be considered as saved by me. Although I saved him, he still died." For a while, what Goku said had confused several people. Hitaki Kusuo said, "Speak carefully, what's going on?" "Actually, I went to save him but he died. He told me a lot of things. His name is Mamayu, the prince of this planet." Chapter 504. Speaking of the prince, Hitaki Kusuo thought of Vegeta and smiled. "Then what happened to the prince? From what you said, he is already dead." "Yes, I took Mamayu from those two people, but Mamayu was already poisoned and could not be cured at all. I didn't have any good ideas for the time being. Of course I know, although there is no good way. But he told me a lot of things." Hitaki Kusuo slowly looked at Piccolo, then looked at Gohan and said, "So what did he tell you?" "On this planet, 06 has a fruit that can develop potential, but it seems that there is only one now. This is one thing, and the other two leaders of Frieza's army are called Ulala and Labubu. I don't know their strengths, but it seems that he seems to have raised the strengths of these two people. One is 18,000, and the other is 24,000. Hitaki Kusuo, if you leave it to me and Gohan, Although I don't know what level Gohan can reach, I feel that Gohan may suffer. Hitaki Kusuo smiled. You don't know Gohan's potential at all. In a fully developed state, it is still stronger than Super Saiyan 3. Of course, even if it is developed now, Gohan can't be that powerful. Even if a person's potential is strong, if he doesn't practice well, it may be in vain. Then he said, so what does this represent? Goku said slowly, I know I'm just a lower-level Saiyan warrior, and I definitely don't have any potential. But you said Gohan has great potential, so I think I should give this fruit to Gohan. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Hitaki Kusuo was also stunned. It turned out that there really was such a thing. But where did Goku get it from? Goku, did the prince give it to you? Yes, the prince gave it to me. I don't know it very well. He said this thing is very powerful. It was at this time that Hitaki Kusuo slowly looked at the fruit in Goku's hand. That fruit is a very powerful fruit, and it looks very powerful. Because of his own samsara eye. He actually saw what the fruit actually did. A fruit that fully develops 10% of the power. Hitaki Kusuo smiled. Although this thing is very powerful, it is useless for people like me and Goku and Piccolo. But for Gohan, it's not necessarily the same. Goku was very happy to see that Hitaki Kusuo recognized his words. Then he said, if this is the case, then developing Gohan is also our task. Pico smiled. I also want to know how powerful Gohan's potential is now, when he was training. Gohan has exploded with powerful potential. And now, let us take a look. The four people no longer hid their energy. Then they flew to a cave. Chapter 505. It was at this time that Bu Lala's machine also responded. At this time, Bu Lala already knew their exact location. Then he said to La Bu, they have already appeared, let's go over there. La Bu, I always feel that things are not that simple. Let's do this. Let's lead all 10,000 players out. La Bu smiled and said, this 10 is no problem, of course it's possible. Then he turned on the communicator and said slowly, everyone gather, all the soldiers above 10,000 come back. It was not long before all four soldiers returned. 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 11,000. You four are back, this is going to be fun. Several people looked at La Bu in surprise and said, what happened to Master La Bu? Why do you need to summon us at the same time? We have an important mission. Don't worry about it. You know, that person is dead. What do you mean, that person is dead? That person has a combat power of 14,000. How could he die? This is simply impossible. But this is the fact. Beulah said impatiently. We didn't believe it at first, but now we know that there are 10 enemies, and they can change their combat power. I don't need to say more about how terrible such a person is. And that person should have a combat power of 18,000. And there is another one with a combat power of 7,000, but we don't know how powerful he is. There are also one with a combat power of 100 and one with a combat power of 5. Although it is not worth mentioning, if they are also hiding their combat power, it will be very difficult for the two of us to go there. How is it possible? How can there be such a powerful person on this planet? We just detected a powerful force suddenly. Now it seems that it is true. Then if this is the case, we know it, and we must cooperate with the adults to attack the enemy with all our strength. Bulala actually didn't know why he had a bad premonition. Just now, the detector had discovered that the man with a combat power of 7,500 had killed 2 of his men. The man's explosive fighting power has reached 13,000. That is not the most important thing. The important thing is whether that kind of fighting power can continue to rise. If it is true, then it is the most terrifying. Then he said, they have already stopped at one position. The 6 of us will deal with them now. And Hitaki no Kusuo is already preparing to develop Gohan. Then he slowly said to a few people, you may still have to participate in the exhibition later, but if you don't need to use the King Ken, don't use it. We are training ourselves, but we should not use it all the time. After all, it is our moves. If that happens, the enemy will be defeated quickly, and there will be no fun in fighting. Picnic looked at Hitaki Kusuo and said slowly, "We know." Store. Chapter 506. It was at this time that Gohan had prepared everything, waiting for Hitaki Kusuo to perform that powerful technique. Then he slowly said to Kusuo Hitaki, "Uncle Kusuo Hitaki, can I really become very powerful? Of course, you may not know how powerful you are now, but you will know it in the future. I don't want to tell you about this matter in detail, because I am not sure about this matter. Gohan will have power when he is angry, but if he controls his anger now, then it stands to reason that his power may be improved." Then he looked at Gohan. "Then we can start. I know how terrible your anger is." Goku and Piccolo also nodded. In fact, they didn't believe it at first, but now they believe what Kusuo Hitaki said, because Gohan really has that kind of power. But they are not confident. In fact, it was a long time ago, and that day was also a day when Gohan didn't go to school. Kusuo Hitaki trained Gohan, but it seemed that he wanted to deliberately anger Gohan. The result was some bad losses. Gohan got angry. At that time, Gohan, who had not received any training, had reached a combat power of 3000. But Gohan didn't know anything at that time. Hitaki Kusuo certainly knew that when Piccolo trained Gohan, Gohan's combat power was about 1000. But his performance was unstable. He didn't have a complete grasp of that kind of power. And if he deliberately controlled his anger, the power of scolding Gohan would definitely be able to increase to a terrifying level. Then he slowly said, "Since Gohan doesn't believe it, I'm going to start the operation. Let you know that what I say is true." Goku nodded. Nodding, he said, "How could I not believe Hitaki Kusuo? This matter is actually not my fault. Gohan has great power, but he has to hurry. I feel that a very strong energy has gathered together, and it is very likely to be coming towards us." Buk said slowly without panic, "We have come here to train ourselves. If it is really a life-and-death battle, we must use the Kaioken, and we have mastered 3 times the Kaioken. Even a person with 30,000 combat power will not be our opponent. Of course I know this, but it is better to be safe than sorry." Hee. Pico immediately said to Hitaki Kusuo, "The thing Goku took really has that kind of effect. I don't know what kind of monster will be created if Gohan eats it. Okay, I'm going to start." Sharingan. Seeing Hitaki Kusuo summon the weird eye, Piccolo asked slowly, "Hitaki Kusuo, I see that many of your moves require this eye, such as the teleportation and the skill that sets people on fire. And is this thing also needed to develop Gohan's potential this time?" Hitaki Kusuo nodded. "Those abilities are the abilities of this eye." Chapter 507. In our place, mastering this kind of eye can dominate, but I have mastered many kinds of eyes. Of course, I am also the strongest warrior in our place. If I come here, I am still far from being the strongest warrior here. But if I use the power of my place, then Frieza is not to be feared. It is for this reason that Piccolo and Goku are no longer surprising at this time. I didn't expect Hitaki Kusuo to be so powerful, that's actually good. In this way, we will have no worries in the future." Hitaki Kusuo smiled. "Son Goku, you will surpass me one day, and Piccolo, I believe you can find your way. And as for Son Gohan, I simply cannot develop Gohan's potential, maybe because you haven't explained it clearly. Gohan's power comes from his emotions. As long as Gohan is angry, his power will surge. And this is actually nothing. My ability is to allow Gohan to be angry anytime and anywhere, and to maintain rational anger. This should be a state. We can call this state the state of full potential in the future. In fact, Hitaki Kusuo knows that mastering this state is a bit like the mysterious Gohan. But it is probably not enough, so I will study it carefully when the time comes. If Gohan is in this state, I can also learn it. Anger is the secret weapon of Super Saiyan. If I am also a Saiyan, I may also use that kind of power." Then he looked at Sun Wukong and said slowly, "I think you can finally understand what I said." Goku, Gohan and Piccolo were shocked. This kind of thing is really possible. Hitaki Kusuo, I really doubt who you are. You can resurrect people casually and have such strange abilities. Are you really just an ordinary person? Are you really not a god? Hitaki Kusuo scratched his head and said, if you say it's a god, there are indeed two supreme gods in this universe. 0 Please give flowers. One is the king of the worlds, and the other is the god of destruction. Of course, people are named like that. The king of the worlds is the god of the kings of the worlds. It's too early for you to know it now. They are the gods who create life and manage everything in this universe. And the other one is the god of war who is in charge of criminal law and destruction. Do you understand it this way? Because Piccolo has a better brain, he understood it directly. Then he said, in other words, there are two kinds of gods, one is a fighting god, and the other is like a god, which is actually the same as me and a god, right? Yes, that's right. But the difference is that you and the gods only control the earth. And they control the universe. In this case, you should be clear. By the way, Hitaki Kusuo, how powerful is this god, compared to Frieza? Hitaki Kusuo smiled and said, even if it is not a fighting supreme god, it can easily kill Frieza in seconds. Chapter 508. As for the god of destruction, you can't imagine it at all. Of course, that is also one of the targets I defeated. Hehe. It can actually kill Frieza in seconds. This is too powerful. I really want to know him. Not far away, we will get rid of Frieza within a year. By then, we will meet them. Of course, by then, I really can't train you anymore, because some things are out of my control. Then Goku, give the fruit you got to Gohan first, and let's see how much fighting power Gohan can have. Hey, Gohan, eat him first. Gohan took it without hesitation and swallowed it directly. Then he patted his stomach and said, I don't feel anything, but I feel hot. In an instant, Gohan's body began to glow, and a large amount of air suddenly surged out. Then it soared into the sky. Wow, Gohan, you are so powerful. You have surpassed me in terms of air. Hehe, this fruit is really powerful. Piccolo looked at Gohan and said, although the fighting power is powerful, it is indeed a thing that doesn't know how to fight. Goku, if you continue like this, Gohan will be useless, so from now on, I will train Gohan. Goku nodded wisely. I know, don't say anything more, you are the master, but I am not suitable for Gohan. Gohan looked at Piccolo and said slowly, I don't have any opinion, I feel that Uncle Piccolo can train me better. But Uncle Hitaki Kusuo, what is my current combat power? Hitaki Kusuo looked at Gohan and then said slowly. Your combat power is about 12,000 now. This is your talent. You have not been trained at all, but you have surpassed most people. But Gohan, your talent is far more than this. This fruit probably only develops 1/10 of your potential. Everyone looked at Hitaki Kusuo in shock. Impossible, 1/10 is already so powerful. Gohan, you are really so powerful. 0. Ha 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 ha, I don't know how powerful you are. Hitaki Kusuo smiled and said. Then Gohan, what I want to say next is that you should train with Piccolo to control this kind of power first, and then I will teach you the angry form. Piccolo questioned. Hitaki Kusuo, those things are already close to us now, how can they be? Hitaki Kusuo smiled and said, you know about the Spirit Time House, right? I can build a better one than that. Hehe. For a while, everyone looked at Hitaki Kusuo. Can you do this? Hitaki Kusuo didn't say anything, and then slowly raised his hand. Rinnegan, Chibaku Tensai, Infinite Tsukuyomi. For a while, a very huge cave appeared in front of everyone. Those people will probably have 10 minutes to come over. Quote. Chapter 509. It was at this time that Piccolo said slowly. Can this really achieve the effect of 1 minute outside and 1 day inside? Then this is actually too terrifying. Hitaki Kusuo smiled, but of course he couldn't say what he wanted to say. This kind of thing was not something he could say now. Because some things are not as simple as he thought. Even if he had unlimited time, it would not work. In fact, his own strength was very rubbish. If he wanted to become stronger, he had to follow the protagonist, learn one move after another, and also learn the state. In this way, he could become the strongest. 0.06. But there was a problem. While he was guiding these people to become stronger, his own strength seemed to have stagnated. But this was not what he wanted. Then he said slowly, "Of course it can't last long. This thing will consume a lot of energy. Of course it can't last long. Is that so? We know." It was just a moment, and they all went in. There was only Kusuo Hitaki outside. Kusuo Hitaki smiled and created something even more terrifying. It was a space where 1 second outside was equal to 1 day inside. And then he went in. This time of training was to make his own strength reach 30,000. The current Kaioken is 3 times, and if it is higher, his body will not be able to bear it. Kusuo Hitaki himself knew this, and if he opened the door, although there were 4 doors now, the doorless door could not be opened. That is of course, after all, the combat power is too strong. And the physical strength is also not enough, and if 2 are activated at the same time, even if it is his own power, it will not last long. Then he can only master the power of anger. And Kamehameha and other moves are not as useful as the moves in Naruto, and the most important thing is that they are not very good looking. Of course, with the Rasengan, he doesn't have to worry about not having any moves. The most indispensable thing in Naruto is moves. Of course. Because Hitaki Kusuo worked hard, he learned to control his anger in less than 10 days. And after 100 times of gravity, there are still senzu beans. In fact, I haven't told Goku and Piccolo about the senzu beans, but Hitaki Kusuo feels that it is unnecessary. After all, I have the ability to copy this thing. For me, the senzu beans are actually infinite. Other people don't know, because of the gravity training and the recovery of senzu beans. It was also in an extremely short time. Hitaki Kusuo's strength has reached a peak. This peak has exceeded 30,000 and reached 30,001. But this is not the combat power that Hitaki Kusuo wants. He himself desires 30,000, and then he directly removes the 30,001. Of course, now Hitaki Kusuo has reached 30,000 combat power, plus 10 times the power blessing. It can already reach 30 combat power. Then add my anger state. For a while, Hitaki Kusuo's combat power has reached 1.2 million. Chapter 510. It was at this time that Kusuo Hitaki's body could no longer bear it. With such a force, his body could not last even a second. Although his combat power had reached 1 million, this abnormal combat power was of little use. However, in the case of a battle, his own improvement would be a good way to knock down the enemy in one fell swoop. If that's the case, it's time for me to go out. Of course, not long after Kusuo Hitaki came out, someone came out of the space. Suo Hitaki immediately saw Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan. It's 9 minutes now, and they'll be here in a while, but you've really gotten stronger. Picnic, now you have a stable combat power of 12,000, and Goku has a combat power of 11,000. And there's Gohan. Gohan, I didn't expect you to be so strong, with a combat power of 15,000, and it's stable. Gohan smiled and said, thanks to Uncle Piccolo and Dad for training me, I now know how to deal with the enemy. Hitaki Kusuo smiled, it's time. Then he opened his Sharingan. Sharingan Koto Amatsukami. You can control your anger. On the other side, there were 4 10,000 warriors and 2 people, Labubu and Bu Lala. They had already sensed the power. Oh no, their fighting power has increased again, 12,000, 15,000, and 11,000. There is still one. Why is there a 10,000 power warrior suddenly? What did they do? Or have they stopped disguising themselves? But this way, they still can't scare our camp. Go where with all your strength. For a moment, Gohan felt that he was no longer himself. When he woke up again, he saw that everyone was looking at him. Then he said slowly, what's wrong with everyone? What's wrong with me? I don't feel the increase in power. Hitaki Kusuo smiled and said, Gohan, be angry. At this moment, Gohan began to explode, and then he thought about being angry. For a moment, Gohan's chi quickly rushed into the sky. What kind of powerful chi is this? Why is it like this? Looking at Gohan, Goku and Piccolo who were surrounded by the fast-spinning chi, they were very surprised. Is this Gohan who has developed his potential? He is really amazing. Gohan said angrily, it's amazing. I can maintain this state. Besides, it won't be painful. Is this me in an angry state? Looking at Gohan wrapped in the strange air mass. It was at this time that the 6 people finally arrived and blew up the cave directly. Finally, Nono Zhao found you. Something is wrong with that kid. It's impossible. My detector must be broken. 18,000, 23,000, 36,000, 48,000, 55,000. 55,000, how is it possible? This is the strength of the Ginyu force. How is it possible? Then he looked at his companions. Everyone was confused. Hitaki Kusuo was also shocked. Gohan can now reach 55,000. Chapter 511. Then what is the combat power of Goku and Piccolo? Goku's combat power is 11,000 now, so his combat power is about 30,000 or 40,000, and Piccolo is the same. And my normal combat power is 30,000. Such a team can already attack Frieza's 3rd Special Forces. Frieza has 3 Special Forces. Then Ginyu may be the worst one. So we have to solve these problems first. Then we can think about other things. Then he looked at Goku and said slowly, if that's the case, then I understand. Goku, let's try without Kaioken, and Gohan, you don't need to use that state. Those people seemed to have heard something, looked at Gohan and said with fear. Who are you and why are you here? Even if you have high combat power, we are not afraid. Labula pointed at Wukong and said slowly, I have disliked you for a long time, and I am going to kill you today. You, with a combat power of 18,000, then it is the same as Vegeta. The man seemed to have heard something and then said slowly, do you know Vegeta? So, are you also from Frieza's army? At this time, Hitaki Kusuo thought of something interesting and said slowly, we are from Frieza's army. Of course, we are a hidden force. Now we are on this planet to find the potential fruit. But because of carelessness, the fruit was eaten by my son. Bulala has already realized that the person in front of them is not their opponent at all. Since they have not torn their faces, they should just leave quickly. The other side also transmitted the message to the headquarters. It's not good. A person with a combat power of 55,000 has appeared on Luoluo Star. Please ask the headquarters to arrange the Ginyu Special Forces. In an instant, Frieza's army has exploded. In the darkness, Frieza looked at the surrounding Ginyu Special Forces and said slowly, I didn't expect such a powerful person to appear. You can go and take a look. If they are willing to surrender, then just leave their lives. There is another thing. Since it is, help me find out the location of Namek. I just learned some interesting things. I didn't expect that there would be such a magical thing as Dragon Ball, but these things belong to me. Hee. Yes, my king. Several people looked at Goku and Gohan and knew that they could not escape. Bulala was smart enough to call Son Goku over. What's your name? It's not easy to have a combat power of 11,000. I'll teach you a lesson first, and then we can unite to deal with that kid. Since you know Vegeta, and Vegeta has already rebelled against Lord Frieza, then you are the rebels. Let me tell you a terrible thing. We have already notified the Ginyu Force. For a moment, Piccolo and Goku looked at Hitaki Kusuo and asked slowly. Who is this person? Is he a very powerful existence? Hitaki Kusuo smiled and then said, too powerful. Chapter 512. Each of them can be compared with Gohan, and their captain has a combat power of 120,000. At this time, Kusuo Hitaki knew that the Ginyu Force was nothing to them. But now, because he had already said that he could not use the Kaioken. In fact, Kusuo Hitaki was not torturing himself, but always felt that this thing was very unreliable. Then he said slowly, of course we know what we are going to do now. Some things are simply beyond our imagination. Forget it, now we should just live a good life. Maybe some things are simply beyond our understanding now. Of course, sometimes it is better to know something than not to know it. Looking at Kusuo Hitaki going around in circles, Goku said slowly. What are you talking about, Kusuo Hitaki? Our Go fan is very powerful. If you don't pull it or not, you don't take it seriously at all. Hitaki Kusuo smiled and said, there are 5 people in the Ginyu Force, and we have 4 people in total. Gohan's current combat power is 55,000. If you two add the Kaioken, it will only be 30,000 combat power. But the Ginyu captain has a combat power of 180,000. We are completely unable to deal with such a strong man. As for me, my real strength now is 30,000 combat power, and then add the door. It will be about 10 times the bonus, but this state can't last long. If the enemy finds out, then we will be in trouble. So that's how it is. It's so powerful. Let's solve the problem in front of us first. Gohan's plan has changed now. The 10,000 will be handed over to you, although your combat power is very high. But after all, you lack actual combat experience, and we all know this. Of course, if Piccolo doesn't, the two of us are about the same. Then one can deal with Lala and the other can deal with Lala. Hitaki Kusuo, just give us some pointers. 0 Please give me flowers. Hitaki Kusuo nodded slowly. Goku was very smart when fighting. Hitaki Kusuo liked people like this. Then he said slowly, if this is the case, then I understand. You guys should be careful. Can you do it, Gohan? Of course I can. I am already full of strength. I am very angry now. ... Then he looked at the side. The 4 people looked at the ferocious Gohan and said tremblingly. What's wrong with you? What's going on? Why are you looking at us like this? No, we didn't provoke you. Why are you looking at us like this? Don't be angry, Jack, let's run. He has a combat power of 55,000. Don't be afraid. Even if he has 55,000 combat power, it's useless. Think about it. He is just a little kid. How can he know how to fight? I guess he must have eaten that potential fruit. Chapter 513. That's why he can be so powerful. Otherwise, why is he so powerful? So, he is just a paper tiger. Hee hee. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but Gohan's powerful spirit couldn't be suppressed. But this doesn't require knowledge of fighting. As long as it's a little bit, we will be finished. Actually, I know that we have no way out, but we can't escape. Of course, Gohan looked at the dead man and said slowly, even if you all come together, I won't be afraid. At this time, Piccolo slowly said to Goku. Don't worry, their fighting power can't hurt Gohan at all. Let's just focus on our fight. Goku has always been worried about Gohan, because if Gohan has any problems, Chi-Chi will definitely kill him. Then he slowly said, if that's the case, then let's start. Piccolo, can you leave the powerful one to me? I want to see my limit. Yes, after all, I have killed one. Although they are very powerful, we can't beat them without Kaioken. But I haven't enjoyed the feeling of not being able to beat someone for a long time, so I'll give that to you. This time, I have reached 2 in the trial. Bu Lala and Bu were really angry now. The 2 people in front of them didn't even treat them as human beings. Then he said slowly, you 2 dare to challenge us with such fighting power. Without that little devil, you are not our opponents at all. Is that so? Haha, then I also want to give it a try. Then Wukong quickly flashed behind Bu. Are you the one with a fighting power of 24,000? Then I really want to give it a try. It's clear early on that fighting power is not the only way to judge a person's strength. People with weak fighting power can also defeat those with strong fighting power. Yulala said as if she had heard a joke. But how can your 11,000 combat power be a match for my 24,000 combat power? Ha 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 0. Goku did not answer, and the attack was naturally dodged by the other party. Of course, things are not that simple. Goku has already thought about this matter. The gap between the 2 people's strength is too big, so just use double Kaioken. Kaioken. Yulala instantly felt that the combat power of the person in front of him was very strong, and then slowly looked at his detector. 11,000, 22,000. How did you do it? Why are you so strong? How is it possible? How is it possible, even if you have such a strong combat power? But I am still better than you. Although he is still stronger than Wukong, Yulala knows that he should not be careless in this battle. Because as long as there are more than 20,000 people, they can cause damage to him. Then he looked at Wukong solemnly, and suddenly he became a fighter, but because the difference in strength was not very big. The 2 of them soon fought back and forth. Chapter 514. Goku and Yulala on the side have already started fighting. And Piccolo looked at Labubu and said slowly, You are not my opponent. If I defeat you, there is no problem at all, and there is no skill. Although I know that you must be wondering why I am so confident, but I can also use the move that Wukong used just now. And my combat power can be doubled. Hee hee. Bulala looked at Piccolo and said in surprise, what kind of move is this, why does such a thing exist? 12,000 combat power, then doubled as 24,000 combat power. Oh 6, how can I fight this? I only have a combat power of 18,000. Let me go, and I will give you some of the good things I seized. Pico smiled and said, is this the dignity of a cosmic person? What do I need your things for? They are completely useless. I can, Uncle Piccolo, I must defeat you to death. Then he kicked Bu Lala away. Bu Lala was no match for Piccolo, but now he was in a dilemma. It was not right to run, and it was not right not to run. He could only be beaten by Piccolo. As for Goku, it was the opposite. Although the gap was not very big, it was Fang is also a master who often fights on the front line. In this case, although Wukong, who has experienced hundreds of battles, is also amazed at the opponent's fighting skills. Labubu smiled and said, although the gap between our strength is not very large, I am a fighting genius that only appears once in a century. Even people with the same fighting power generally cannot beat me, of course, you are even less likely. Regardless of some things, I still care about them. I can see that you rely on that red energy to improve your fighting power. But, I guess you can't maintain this state for long. Of course, there are some things that I still don't want to say. You are not my opponent at all. Surrender. If you surrender to me, then I will give you a chance. You are also a genius. If you fall like this. Actually, I don't want to see it either. Wukong smiled and said. Since this is the case, then I will let you see my true strength. Then he exploded. Instantly, a strong energy emerged. 5,000 combat power. Is it 15,000 in the explosive state? Then this is actually enough, Kaioken. Bulala looked at Goku and then screamed, how is it possible? A combat power of 30,000, how can it be like this? Why? Did you hide your combat power before? Now, our combat power is far apart. Then he killed Bulala with one punch. Bulala was not killed by Goku, as Goku was not interested in that. Bulala said fiercely, I have already notified the Ginyu force. They are nearby. It only takes a few minutes. We can get here. You can't run away, haha. At this time, the laser directly penetrated Bulala. Goku looked back. Chapter 515. At this time, Goku looked behind him. It turns out that it was Piccolo. Obviously, if it hadn't been for Lala, Piccolo would have been defeated. Looking at Gohan, Gohan also defeated the four people. Hitaki Kusuo said slowly, if that's the case, then we have already solved the problem. Next, we can have some fun. Are you guys on this planet? I may have to go somewhere to do something. Because I have discovered something now, that is, when I am with you, you simply can't use your full strength. Or if you don't fight hard, it's impossible for you to grow in such a battle. It was at this time that Goku looked at Gohan and Piccolo and said slowly. Hitaki Kusuo is right, because if we see you now, we really haven't encountered a crisis and we won't be very nervous. Now, the enemies we have to face are not something we can defeat, so when they come, we still want to continue to become stronger. There is no problem with this. When I leave, I will build a time zone for you, and you can train in it. And it's very secretive inside, and you can hide. Even the detector can't detect it at all. Besides, there is that thing that can last for 3 days. Then I will see if you can survive. By the way, your opponent is the Ginyu Force. Let me tell you how powerful these 5 people are. The Ginyu Force is Frieza's elite force, and I don't know how many elite forces Frieza has. But the Ginyu Force is still a very powerful force. The combat effectiveness of the team members is about 50,000 to 60,000. And it's not just a matter of combat effectiveness. Goku scratched his head, looked at Hitaki Kusuo, and said slowly, how come they have any powerful moves? Hitaki Kusuo said slowly, you must not show so strong at the beginning, otherwise, they will unite, and then you will not be opponents at all. Relax your fighting power. Let them not look down on you, then you can repel them one by one. Then let me first introduce how powerful this Ginyu Special Forces is. Their captain is the most powerful one. The fighting power is about 120,000, but this is not the most important thing. Gohan, Goku and Piccolo were all stunned. What is a person with a fighting power of 120,000? How can such a person be their enemy? At this level, they must understand the power of a person with a fighting power of 120,000. We understand. Does he have any powerful moves besides his powerful fighting power? Of course he has it. This Ginyu is not Ginyu. In other words, his strength is all gained by using a magic. That is the body-changing technique 0. Pico's face turned green, and then said. Chapter 516. Is this kind of thing really possible? How can it be possible to restore a person's body? This is not something that ordinary people can do. But this is not important. In fact, the important thing is that when he uses this technique, you must not look into his eyes. But for you, he probably won't put that thing, because you are still relatively weak. Pico nodded slowly and then said, we are clear about this matter, so there are no strange people among the others. Hitaki Kusuo slowly he said slowly, this is the key point I want to tell you. Some of them are good at speed, and some are good at strength. Of course, if they are not enough, then they can't hit the enemy at all, but if they are enough, the speed is basically not enough, then they can't attack the enemy at all. But if they cooperate, then you will definitely not be able to beat them. There is one person among them you must pay attention to him. Gohan asked slowly, why should we pay attention to this person? Is this person's fighting power higher than that Ginyu? Hitaki Kusuo shook his head. That's not the case. The Ginyu force has the highest combat power. But there is a man named Bart among them. You must be careful. His combat power is about 28,000. Gohan curled his lips and said, in this case, I can definitely beat him. Dad and Uncle Piccolo can also beat him. Why should we be careful? He has superpowers. Everyone was stunned and looked at Hitaki Kusuo, not understanding the meaning of superpowers. Well, he actually knows two kinds of magic. One is the golden binding technique. This kind of magic can probably make you unable to move directly. People like Gohan can burst and tear. But if you pause at this time, you may be killed by other team members. This is why I asked you to be careful. Goku scratched his head. This thing is really troublesome. In fact, it means that the people of the Ginyu force are really powerful. I didn't expect that they would have such a powerful spell. But I know, I will definitely be careful, and Piccolo and Gohan, we will all be careful. Pico is now very afraid of the people that Hitaki Kusuo mentioned. If it were ordinary people, Hitaki Kusuo would not have to remind them like this. They may still have a very powerful killer, otherwise, they would not be Frieza's elite troops. Because Hitaki Kusuo said that their current goal is to defeat Frieza, but Frieza has a minimum combat power of 530,000, and Hitaki Kusuo has never said the highest. But seeing Hitaki Kusuo's fearful eyes, it is clear how powerful Frieza is. Of course, some things are simply not what he can imagine now. Okay, you must believe what this person says. He actually has this more terrifying ability. Gohan shook his head and looked at Kusuo Hitaki. What exactly is that ability? Chapter 517. Time stop. Yes, this person's name is Jirudo. Although he is not very powerful, he can do the golden binding technique. And there is also the suspension of time. Pico and Goku were almost stunned. How is it possible? This kind of thing is not something that humans can do. So if we stop time, does that mean we can't move, but they can move? Suo Hitaki smiled and touched Gohan's head, and then said. Actually, he can move by himself, but he has to hold his breath when he stops time. As long as he doesn't hold his breath, time will not stop. And it's just that area that stops, not the whole world. So that's how it is. Pico said very seriously. Then if you meet him, you must find a way to deal with this person, otherwise there will be big trouble. Of course, you also have to remember that this person has very low combat effectiveness. You can lure him at that time. This special forces is very arrogant. Generally speaking, they will not join forces. So you must quickly deal with these people hehe. Of course, but there are still 3 people, saying, what are they? Hitaki Kusuo thought about it. In fact, in the Ginyu Special Forces, only these 2 people have special abilities. Because the others were killed directly, there are not many memories. He looked at Wukong and said slowly, then the remaining 3 people are not that powerful. One is called Lickham, very powerful, with a combat power of about 100,000. This person is very durable, which means that his resistance is very good, so when you fight again, must be the last one to kill. Pico smiled and said, since he has a combat power of 60,000, he is really thick-skinned. My current limit is about 48,000. If I practice well, I will definitely surpass this person. Zero, please give me flowers. Hitaki Kusuo nodded. You can reach that combat power with the triple Kaioken, but remember that you must escape when you are in a stalemate. This is the disadvantage of the Kaioken. If you use the Kaioken for a long time, it will definitely put a huge burden on your body. We all know it. 000. Of course there is Bart. This person is the most powerful one among them, with a combat power of 70,000. There is also the fastest geese, with a combat power of about 170,000. It was at this time that Goku and Piccolo looked at each other and shook their heads with a wry smile. If we don't take it seriously this time, we can really go to King Kai. But if you fight beyond your combat power, it can show how powerful you are, right? Of course, son, I'm already looking forward to our enemies. If we fight, our combat power can be further improved. Hitaki Kusuo looked at everyone. The current situation is still good. Work. Chapter 518. Hitaki Kusuo thought for a while, staring at the 2 people opposite him. His expression was a little solemn, and he shook his head. Waving his hand, he used the action to attract Goku and Gohan to come over. Although the 2 people were a little confused, they still followed. Hitaki watched them follow, face to face. After a while of silence, he organized his words and pulled the 2 people to a remote place. Pat the 2 people's shoulders, I have something to tell you. Goku and Gohan looked at Hitaki Kusuo in a daze. What is it? The 2 looked at his solemn expression, bit their lower lips tightly in silence for a moment, and then remained silent, motioning to Hitaki to speak, and they listened patiently. After Hitaki organized his words, he told them the situation word by word, including their current situation, the danger they were about to fall into, and what to do if they succeeded after getting drunk, and what to do if they failed. After informing them of all their information, Goku and Gohan were a little surprised at the current situation. They also admired Hitaki for being able to explain the information and results so clearly, and looked at him with great admiration. Hitaki said, since you have learned this information, do you know what to do next? Hitaki stared at Goku and Gohan, looking forward to their answers. The 2 thought for a while. Of course, this time was not long, at most 1 minute, and they immediately came to a conclusion and nodded firmly to Hitaki. Don't worry. Goku and Gohan said together. This situation is very dangerous now. We all know it, but there is also a chance. As long as we seize this opportunity, we may succeed. Hitaki smiled. Then what should you do? Goku looked at Gohan, and Gohan looked at Goku, and the 2 smiled at each other. Isn't this very simple? We can avoid direct conflict first, observe them from the side, see carefully if they have any special skills, listen to their conversation, and finally make a decision. Hitaki nodded. In fact, I thought of this method before, and we thought of the same thing, which is really good. Almost. Then we'd better prepare quickly. 0. Goku said to the 2 people. Looking at Goku's solemn face, Gohan patted his shoulder. Don't worry, we are together. Even if it doesn't work, we can still steal their movements, we won't lose. Wukong took a deep breath, relaxed himself, and nodded to the 2 people. Don't worry, I understand everything. Let's start preparing now. Try to prepare as much as possible, at least it can increase the chance of winning. Several people nodded, and then prepared separately, setting up traps bit by bit, and then finding a good place to hide, and even tried it out in person. After waiting for everything to be thoroughly prepared, several people heard a voice. He heard the sound and immediately hid in the position he had just found. Watching the members of the Ginyu force arrive one after another, Some of them had casual expressions, some were serious, and some were very serious. Hitaki and Gohan used sign language, not daring to make any sound, and signaled the other party to observe more and not to act rashly. The three of them stayed in their positions, spying on the Ginyu Force members. Chapter 519. After several people observed for a while, Hitaki Kusuo looked at the people opposite. He fell into thinking about how to deal with these people. What should they do now to succeed? He used sign language to Goku, not daring to make a sound. With a solemn expression, he looked at the Ginyu Force members, analyzing and exchanging information with Goku and Gohan. Then Hitaki slowed down his pace, moved to another place little by little, and watched the Ginyu people communicate quietly. During the communication of the Ginyu Force, he found that many people in that team were frequently looking at one of the very tall people. It seems that they respect the tall and powerful person very much. Hitaki Kusuo thought for a while, tilted his head, and seemed to have set his sights on that person. Goku also noticed the tall person and was thinking of a countermeasure. Hitaki looked left and right, and then seemed to have made up his mind. He told Goku that he had come up with a wonderful idea. Goku and Gohan looked at him with doubts. As if to say, "What idea have you come up with?" Hitaki said that he would lead away the very tall Ginyu Force member. How to lead away? He saw their doubts from the expressions of Goku and Gosei. Simple, he made a door gesture to Goku, meaning that he would go to the door later, and then he made a gesture to open the door. It means that he will open the door directly later and use the huge sound to attract the attention of the Ginyu Force. Because it is a door, the tallest and most powerful person should notice him. Just when the strongest person noticed his kung fu. Goku and Gohan took this opportunity to ambush the remaining people. Goku and Gohan said that this was not possible, it was too dangerous for Hitaki, and they expressed their attitude with a gesture of refusal. Hitaki had an indifferent expression on his face, saying that he was really fine, and looked at Goku and Gohan with anxious eyes. Goku thought that he could open the door himself, and Hitaki and Gohan would ambush and solve the remaining people, but was rejected. Hitaki said that his ability was a little stronger, so it was best for him to attract attention. Goku and Gohan could work together to detonate all the ambushes they had made before, and catch the remaining people off guard. Goku fell into thinking. In fact, what Hitaki said was also correct, but he didn't want others to get into trouble. But from a rational point of view, he might not be able to guarantee his own safety, but Hitaki seemed to be able to guarantee his own safety easily. Gohan patted Goku on the shoulder. Indeed, the best choice now was to let Hitaki open the gate directly and attract the strongest person. They would deal with the rest of the people together. This cooperation was the best way. Goku had no choice but to nod silently, affirming Hitaki Kusuo and asking him to pay attention to his own safety. Hitaki looked at Goku and the others and agreed. He breathed a sigh of relief, patted his chest, and did it with his hands and mouth. Then I will go directly. You should find a good opportunity and pay attention to safety. Goku and Gohan nodded. Hitaki found a good opportunity and rushed directly to the gate at that moment without caring about anything. He knew that Goku and the others were behind him, so he was not particularly worried. His mission was to attract the strongest one. Chapter 520. Hitaki Kusuo suddenly appeared, regardless of anything, like a gust of wind. All the Ginyu Force members present did not react or even notice it. The sound of hitting the gate finally attracted the attention of everyone present. The team members also discovered the appearance of Kusuo Hitaki, but at this moment Goku and Gohan were still looking for an opportunity. So everyone thought that only Hitaki had broken into them alone. Everyone thought that Hitaki must be a very strong person, so they were very careful and paid attention to Hitaki's movements. The people of the Ginyu Special Forces were attracted to them, and their expressions were a little solemn, and they didn't know whether it was because of fear or something else. But there was also a little excitement in their expressions, which might be due to their nature. They were very much looking forward to Hitaki's fighting power. The tall man, who looked very powerful, waved his hand, indicating that everyone should not act rashly. After all, they didn't know Hitaki's strength. Hitaki was against him. Both sides were very vigilant and seemed to be very in awe of each other. Hitaki saw that he was not fooled and got closer to the gate. The leader of the Ginyu Special Forces had sharp eyes. He was about to explore Hitaki's strength. But because he was afraid that Hitaki's strength was stronger than his own, he explored it carefully. The two sides confronted each other for a long time, and the captain of the Ginyu force finally found out the strength of Hitaki. His expression became very disdainful, and his movements became more and more casual, as if he didn't care about the person on the other side at all. The person who faced him was very weak. Although he broke into his inner circle alone, it couldn't change the fact that he was very weak. The result of the captain's investigation was that Hitaki Kusuo was really weak. His other team members were not fools. After seeing their captain's attitude towards that person change from being very vigilant to being very contemptuous, they also understood that the person on the other side was not really powerful. Now they paid less and less attention to Hitaki Kusuo. After all, weak people don't need to distract them too much. However, some of their team members were still very unhappy about the sudden scare. Among them, Giz was the most unhappy. Just now, he made a fool of himself because of Hitaki's sudden appearance. Just now, he accidentally used his ability because of the appearance of Kusuo Hitaki, and he fell down before he could master his ability, which made him look very embarrassed. That's why when he heard that Hitaki's ability was not that strong, or even very weak, Giz was eager to solve it. The man who made him look bad just now. He said to his captain, "Captain, I'll do it. This guy made me look bad just now. I must teach him a lesson." The captain of the Ginyu force looked up at Giz and said, "Okay, then you go. This guy is very weak. Do your best." "Of course, I'm the fastest Giz. With this kind of stuff, ha 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 ha, he may not even touch my clothes." Everyone laughed. Giz laughed at the lazy Hitaki on the side. He was the fastest and he couldn't beat him. Hitaki looked at Goku and Gohan and told them to find an opportunity to attack directly. He would fight this man first. Chapter 521. Then let me meet you. Let's see how you, a clown, dare to play tricks in front of us. Giz looked at Kusuo Hitaki with disdain and said leisurely. Kusuo shook his head, indicating that he was helpless against him, and then made a battle team posture, alerting Giz. Giz sneered, and nothing could distract his attention now. He shook his wrists and shook his head, not caring whether Hitaki could accept it or not, and not caring whether Hitaki would trick him. Giz directly opened up his full speed and attacked Kusuo Hitaki. His attack force was quite good. If this person was really less capable than Giz, he would be half dead if he did not die after receiving this attack. This is very cruel. It seems that Giz has no sympathy at all and directly hits with all his strength. Hitaki Kusuo didn't want to use all his strength, but Giz forced him, so he had no choice. The originally lazy movement instantly became fast and accurate. He accurately caught Giz's full-strength palm, but just stepped back a few steps, which did not have much impact. It's cruel enough. Since you are not merciful, I will not be merciful either. When you know that the opponent is weaker than you still use such a strong force. You are really cruel. Hitaki looked at Giz opposite with a smile. Giz spread his hands. There is no way. After all, the law of the jungle is the hard truth in this world. Hitaki smiled and said, "You are right, then, I won't be polite either." It was as if Kusuo Hitaki had turned on a switch, and at that moment everyone felt that the atmosphere around them had changed. The captain of Ginit was the first to feel that a powerful person had appeared. His ability was so powerful that there was no need to investigate at all. His contemptuous look became serious and solemn. He turned around and found that Kusuo Hitaki was the one whose ability had become very powerful. Why? He was not only surprised, but also very curious. How did he do this? Goku and Gohan, who were hiding nearby, finally understood why Kusuo Hitaki was so confident, because Kusuo Hitaki's ability was really very powerful. For example, now, Kusuo Hitaki's powerful strength was demonstrated. Goku looked at Hitaki with admiration, and now everyone was thinking in their hearts, why did he suddenly become so strong? Big. The captain of Ginit felt it most realistically. He could feel that Kusuo Hitaki's strength had increased by at least 10 times. And it increased in an instant, not slowly. He looked at Kusuo Hitaki with a complicated expression. Giz also felt it. How did this man do it? This was simply incredible. The fighting power increased in an instant. It was too terrifying. No, I can't just sit there and wait for death. Giz thought so and immediately took action, ready to kill Kusuo Hitaki. He used a big move that consumed all his strength and hit Hitaki. Unfortunately, this move was directly caught by Kusuo Hitaki, and there was no sense of effort at all. Giz became instantly terrified, his pupils dilated, and he looked at Hitaki in shock. It's not good to take advantage of someone's misfortune. Then, after a violent beating, Giz was blown up and lay on the side, dying. Then Hitaki punched Ginyu away with one punch, without any effort, very easily. The rest of the Ginyu special forces were dumbfounded, staring blankly at Hitaki Kusuo. Chapter 522. Seimu Kusuo pulled Ginyu. His expression was a little ferocious. Although Seimu Kusuo was just one person, he had just shown his terrible power. The power that had increased tenfold was extremely terrifying. Before, Seimu Kusuo was just a small figure in Ginyu's eyes, but now Seimu Kusuo has become a behemoth, and Ginyu can't compete at all. Ginyu is still resisting, but his power and there was a certain gap between Seiki Kusuo and Seiki Kusuo, and he could not break free from Seiki Kusuo's hands. Seiki Kusuo laughed and picked up Ginyu like a chicken. Ginyu was a little afraid and looked at his teammates. These players who were usually regarded as waste by Ginyu still had certain combat power. Ginyu did not expect them to defeat Seiki Kusuo. He just hoped that these players could stop Seiki Kusuo for a while. As long as he could stop him for a while, there would be a way. But they did not. Those players did not move at all. Two of them even began to gradually retreat. Seeing them like this, Ginyu was furious. You are members of my Ginyu Special Forces. Are you still afraid of this guy who came from nowhere? But no matter how Ginyu shouted, the members of the Ginyu Special Forces did not move at all. Even Ginyu, who was usually high and mighty, was caught. More importantly, Ginyu did not resist at all. Power, this kind of power, even if they rush forward, they will only die. The other team members looked at Seiki Kusuo with some horror in their eyes. They didn't expect Seiki Kusuo to be so brave that he dared to do this in their encirclement. Seiki Kusuo sneered at Ginyu. Ginyu wanted to resist, but was hit on the head by Seiki Kusuo, and his resistance was immediately reduced a lot. Suddenly, someone wanted to rush up. This person thought that Ginyu would definitely resist after Seiki Kusuo just attacked him, so he might have a chance to save Ginyu. But he failed. Looking at the person rushing up, Seiki Kusuo laughed. Not bad, Ginyu, there are really fools who want to save you. Well, now I will tell these people what price they will pay for saving you. Seiki Kusuo just sneered and punched out. The power that was amplified 10 times was extremely terrifying. How could the members of the Ginyu Special Forces resist it? With just one punch, the member was killed by Seiki Kusuo. 0 Please give me flowers. Everyone present was extremely quiet. They had known for a long time that there would be a huge gap between them, but they did not expect the gap to reach such a level. The member of the Ginyu force just now was also considered to be average, but he could not even take a punch from Seiki Kusuo. 0. The faces of all the members of the Ginyu force became extremely ugly. They were no longer looking at Ginyu, as if they did not know Ginyu. Obviously, they were scared. Seiki Kusuo sneered at the Ginyu force members present and slowly left. The members could see that Seiki Kusuo did it on purpose, but none of them dared to chase him. It's terrible. I didn't expect this person to be so terrible. The members of the Ginyu force were still talking, and at this time a figure had appeared in front of the remaining people. It was Sun Wukong and the other two. They had received news about Seiki Kusuo before, and now they wanted to catch the Ginyu force in one fell swoop. Work. Chapter 523. Just when they were not far away, Seiki Kusuo released Ginyu's restraints. Just as Ginyu was about to leave, Seiki Kusuo punched him. Ginyu wanted to dodge, but he couldn't dodge in time. Just one punch hit him on the top of his head. Ginyu howled in pain, but this was just the beginning. Seiki Kusuo was not prepared to let Ginyu leave at all. He brought Ginyu here just to teach Ginyu a good lesson. Every time Ginyu attacked, Seiki Kusuo would punch Ginyu first. Ginyu kept screaming in pain. His body could no longer withstand such an attack. Suddenly Ginyu stopped and probably took a few steps back. He found that when he didn't attack, Seiki Kusuo never attacked him. He didn't know if it was because of Seiki Kusuo's tricks or his personality loopholes, but if he could make good use of this, then he might be able to leave. I can't beat you now, wait till I call someone over, and then I'll see how I'll deal with you. Ginyu thought to himself. His face was full of information as he kept retreating, but he still pretended to be very calm. I'm almost leaving, I'll take 2 more steps, and he won't be able to catch me. Ginyu's heart seemed to be screaming, but Ginyu only took 1 step, and Seiki Kusuo suddenly moved. He grabbed Ginyu's feet. Ginyu wanted to break free, but Seiki Kusuo threw Ginyu to the other side. Seiki Kusuo roared in pain, but compared to this pain, what was more important was despair. Just now he felt that he was about to leave, but Seiki Kusuo suddenly chased after him, which made Ginyu extremely confused. Ginyu yelled, "Why, you obviously wouldn't attack me just now." Shinyu laughed, "I just wanted to see what you wanted to do. By the way, I told you that even if I didn't attack you, you had no way to stop me. Who knew you wanted to run away? It's so embarrassing to let you run away from my hands." Shinyu yelled, grabbed Ginyu's feet with both hands, and began to swing. Ginyu felt that the world was spinning around him, and he couldn't see the surroundings clearly. So fast, this person's speed is so fast, Ginyu thought. He also knew that the other party was obviously playing tricks on him, but Ginyu also thought that he could live a little longer, at least he was not in any danger of life now. 0. Suddenly Ginyu was stunned and looked at Seiki Kusuo. It seemed like an illusion just now. He felt that Seiki Kusuo's momentum seemed to have suddenly dropped a lot. Recalling that Seiki Kusuo suddenly increased his strength tenfold just now, Ginyu couldn't help but wonder what was going on with this person's momentum and why it would change back and forth. Seiki Nanshong's momentum was still declining. Ginyu laughed. Although he had not yet broken free from Seiki Nanshong's hand, he had seen hope. However, thinking of the fact that Seiki Nanshong had deliberately played tricks on him before, he became more vigilant. Maybe Seiki Nanshong was also deliberately playing tricks on him now. But feeling that the force pulling his thigh had weakened a lot, Ginyu laughed, "I told you not to deal with me before, but now your strength can't deal with me." Ginyu supported himself with his hands and barely stopped Seiki Nanshong's movements. Ginyu shouted, "See how I deal with you later." Chapter 524. Seiki Nanshong's strength increased too quickly and decreased too quickly. This is very likely not Seiki Nangshinji's power. The power itself comes from a secret method. Ginyu showed a strange smile on his face. This secret method is a good thing. If he gets this secret method, his power will increase tenfold. Maybe even the king will not be his opponent. Ginyu laughed loudly. He looked at Seiki Kusuo proudly. "What you did just now was too stupid. Your power can't last long. Why don't you kill me directly? You play the cat and mouse game over there. Now the cat and mouse are going to switch positions." Seiki Kusuo's face was a little ugly. Now he is still stabilizing his secret method. His secret method can still support for a while. At least it is not a problem to deal with the Ginyu in front of him. At this time, Ginyu laughed loudly and walked towards Seiki Kusuo. "Fool, has your strength returned to your original state now? Weak is weak. Even if you can become strong with the help of some power, you still don't know what a strong person should do in your bones." While saying this, Ginyu looked at Seiki Kusuo with cold eyes. Seiki Kusuo also knew that Ginyu had already wanted to kill him. For so many years, except for Ginyu's king, no one dared to attack Ginyu. Now Seiki Kusuo has removed Ginyu's reverse scale. Ginyu slowly approached Seiki Kusuo. "Are you particularly regretful now? You must be thinking, I should have killed you just now. You would never have thought that I was so powerful that I actually exhausted your strength." Ginyu's laughter was extremely rampant. Seiki Kusuo just raised his eyebrows. Apart from anything else, Ginyu really has a lot of inner drama. It's still a bit interesting to hear him say this, at least it can add a little fun to this boring life. Ginyu did not approach Seiki Kusuo, because Ginyu also knew that Seiki Kusuo's secret method was still maintained. The longer he delayed, the longer Seiki Kusuo would be burdened. In the end, he might not need to travel east, and Seiki Kusuo would be seriously injured by the backlash of the secret method. Ginyu was not in a hurry, but at this time, Seiki Kusuo did not dare to continue to attack, and Ginyu did not mind mocking him at this time. Ginyu had already walked in front of Seiki Kusuo. Seiki Kusuo, do you want to leave now? I am not like you. I will not play cat and mouse tricks with you. As long as you kowtow to me 3 times, I will let you leave. How about it? Is this fair and reasonable? Suddenly Ginyu felt a chill. He looked at Seiki Kusuo in astonishment. Seiki Kusuo laughed. Let me kowtow to you 3 times, your idea is really interesting. But now even if you kowtow to me 30 times, it's probably useless. Seiki Kusuo grabbed Ginyu's head and pinched his skull with his fingers. The threat of death came. Ginyu looked at Seiki Kusuo in astonishment. How could it be? Your power is obviously out of control. How can you still burst out such a powerful force? Seiki Kusuo laughed. Even if I can't control my power, it's not difficult for me to kill you. Chapter 525. Sun Wukong fought with the remaining Ginyu Special Forces members. Those members of the Ginyu Special Forces were not weak, but they didn't take any advantage in front of Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong looked at the remaining Ginyu Special Forces members calmly. These members were already small fish and shrimps. The real strong ones had been taken away by Seiki Kusuo. It was not difficult to deal with these people. What's more, Sun Wukong already knew the information about these people, and now Sun Wukong knew all their weaknesses. Sun Wukong looked at the people in front of him calmly. He clenched his fists, and the people of the Ginyu Special Forces were still able to fight with Sun Wukong. But now Ginyu has disappeared, and was punched away by someone, and now they are extremely afraid of the people in front of them. Sun Wukong just stood there and no one dared to step forward. After a long time, a person came up, but this person was not here to fight with Sun Wukong, he was just threatening Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong laughed. You want to threaten me? We come here to deal with you, are you ready? The Ginyu force began to retreat. None of them dared to fight with Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong rushed forward quickly and punched a Ginyu force member. The member shouted loudly, but after he flew to the side, he found that his body was completely unharmed. He laughed. It's okay, I'm fine. This guy is just a waste. His strength is very weak. After hearing this, the other members of the Ginyu force rushed over thinking of Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong's face was extremely ugly. He didn't expect that he would be treated as a soft persimmon by these people in front of him. Sun Wukong roared, and his aura was also changing. Soon his strength increased by nearly double. The members of the Ginyu force were dumbfounded. How can he also do this trick? However, since the war has already started, these members don't have too many ideas. They just continue to fight with Sun Wukong and others. Fortunately, Sun Wukong and others know the weaknesses of these people and have been suppressing them. These members of the Ginyu Special Forces soon have no power to fight back. Someone shouted loudly, what's going on? Why is this person's fighting style so weird? There is obviously no difference in our strength. It's so big, but why do all our moves seem to be suppressed by this guy? This fighting style is too weird. At this time, the Ginyu Special Forces finally discovered it, but it was too late. Sun Wukong saw that he had a firm grasp of the situation at this time. He couldn't let these people escape. Sun Wukong's power broke out completely, suppressing these people tightly. These people still wanted to escape, but the surroundings had already been prepared. When they were about to escape, good thing the battle was over. Sun Wukong sneered at these guys in front of him, and he said calmly, you are also unlucky. You actually met Seiki Kusuo. That guy is so scary. It seems that Ginyu is dead. This sentence made all the members of the Ginyu force forget to resist. Even their boss was caught and did not resist. What else can they do? It is better to be a salted fish.